Greetings. For those of you new to the ARC Tampa Bay, welcome to our driver training program. For current employees, we have broken training down into smaller units to enable us to have more flexibility to ensure that our drivers can be trained throughout the year on key topics. So with that being said, let's get started. The ARC Tampa Bay's Transportation Operating Procedures, or TOP, was developed to include an overview of our driver training program, vehicle maintenance and inventory, accident review process, and other policies and procedures related to maintaining our vehicles that are purchased using funding from the Florida Department of Transportation. The purpose of the TOP is to respond to the needs of the consumers being served by providing safe, courteous, clean, reliable, effective, and timely service to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It is the duty of each driver for the ARC Tampa Bay, as well as all staff in general, to assist the agency to manage the program and the vehicles maintained as part of the program. So which regulatory programs or agencies provide oversight for our Transportation Operating Procedures program? The main ones include the Florida Department of Transportation, Agency for Persons with Disabilities, Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, and our insurance carrier. During this presentation, I'll go over each agency and what our responsibility is as an agency to comply with these requirements. The Florida Department of Transportation, or FDOT, provides funding for the majority of our vehicles. Annually, we are able to purchase 2 to 3 vehicles, which enables us to retire older vans that have reached their useful life and acquire new vans for passenger transport. Older vehicles are either sold or remain in the fleet for emergency use. The FDOT program that funds these purchases is called the 5310 program, which is specifically for the elderly and disabled. These are federal funds that are passed through the Federal Transit Administration to FDOT and then to local agencies. Certain federal rules and regulations must be adhered to in order for the ARC Tampa Bay to comply with our use of federal funds. Non-compliance can result in loss of funds. Some examples of these federal and FDOT requirements include daily vehicle inspections and paperwork, our Title VI plan, and our TOP, which is updated annually. We will review each of these in more detail throughout this course. This presentation is one of 8 modules as part of the ARC Tampa Bay's driver training program. Throughout this presentation and other courses that are part of the program, we will discuss the following topics as part of our compliance with FDOT rules and regulations: driver qualifications, wireless communication policy, drug-free workplace policy, vehicle inspections, vehicle equipment familiarization, basic vehicle operations, defensive driving, distracted driving, handling emergencies and accident reporting, boarding and alighting, passenger assistance and securement, and operation of wheelchair lifts and other special equipment. The Agency for Persons with Disabilities provides oversight for services provided by the ARC Tampa Bay. We are accountable to APT for the health and safety of the consumers in our care. For any vehicle accidents that result in an injury to a consumer or consumers and result in medical treatment, a report must be made to APD within 1 business day. The ARC Tampa Bay has an agreement with Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority to provide one-way passenger trips to the population we serve. We are paid based on the number of trips provided and mileage for each one-way trip. Vehicle trip logs help us meet our PSTA contractual obligations by documenting the passengers being transported, the purpose of the trip, date, vehicle, and mileage information. The ARC Tampa Bay is able to be reimbursed by PSTA for providing certain trips at an agreed upon rate. In order to ensure that our agency meets requirements as established primarily by APD and FDOT, the ARC Tampa Bay has established a set of criteria for driver qualifications and training. This course and other courses are designed to help us meet some of those requirements. The ARC Tampa Bay is committed to excellence in providing quality care to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. An employment screening process has been implemented to ensure services are provided by qualified staff according to position. The ARC Tampa Bay requires the following qualifications when hiring and maintaining the employment for drivers who operate transit vehicles. Our background screenings and verifications consist of the following mechanisms. The first is the background check. This information is also found in our employee handbook. All employees who have direct involvement with consumers will have a Level 2 background screening prior to working with agency patrons. Local background checks will be submitted to the Pinellas County Sheriff Department prior to employment. The employee must have lived in this county for a minimum of 6 months for this check to be valid. If the employee has not lived in this county for a minimum of 6 months or more, then the local background check must be sent to the county of prior residence. The local background check will be repeated for employees every 5 years throughout their tenure with the agency. E-Verify is an internet-based system that compares information entered by an employer from an employee's I-9 form to records available from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration to confirm employment eligibility. Job applicants are notified of the agency's participation in E-Verify through the use of posters that are displayed in administrative areas. As part of the verification process, an I-9 form is completed for new hires. A case is then created in E-Verify for each new hire within 72 hours to check the employee's identity and employment status. U.S. employment authorization status is printed and filed in the employee's personnel record. For any E-Verify case that does not return an employment authorized case result, appropriate measures will be taken as outlined by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. The affidavit of good moral character is signed by all employees and defines certain conditions that must be met to maintain a position of trust within the organization. If any employee's background screening uncovers any offense in their prior history, which is included on the list as defined in the Good Moral Character Code, an employment offer will not be made and any present situation will be separated. The ARC Tampa Bay reserves the right to disqualify a candidate for employment based on a conviction divulged via the state-mandated screening process if the conviction is perceived as creating a situation of threat and rendering services to the vulnerable population that the agency serves. Disqualified employees have the right to appeal by contacting the Agency for Persons with Disabilities Background Screening Division. A DMV check is also required. All employees whose work assignment requires driving an agency vehicle will have a DMV check immediately upon hire and annually thereafter. All employees who drive as a component of their work assignment must present a valid Florida driver's license as a term of their employment. A copy of the employee's current driver's license will be maintained in their file. Validity of driver's licenses are verified through American Driving Records. A copy of the license verification will be maintained in their file. The license must be of classification required for the position. Presently, most vehicles owned by the ARC Tampa Bay do not require any additional license classifications to be driven. For a passenger van to require a CDL license, it must be able to transport at least 16 passengers. The ARC Tampa Bay shall not permit a driver to operate vehicles when his or her license has been suspended, canceled, or revoked. It is the responsibility of the driver to immediately notify the ARC Tampa Bay of receipt of any notice that his or her license to operate a motor vehicle has been suspended, canceled, or revoked. Notification should be made no later than the end of the business day following when the notice was received. If an employee divulges an infraction, a new report is run through American Driving Record to verify. As conditions of an offer of employment, drivers must also establish that they have a safe driving record, pass a pre-employment drug screen, verify prior employment, and submit proof of education. In order to operate an agency vehicle, drivers must have a safe driving record. This is determined by obtaining records from American Driving Records. 3 years' worth of driving records are obtained for new hires. Reports are run annually thereafter during tenure of employment. Guideline recommendations for drivers deemed unacceptable are further specified as per policies related to human resources. All employees will be required to submit to and pass a pre-employment drug screen. Prior employment must also be verified. 3 letters of reference will be obtained from the persons who have known the employee prior to inception of employment with the agency. Employees must also submit original documentation as proof of the highest level of education as stated on their application for employment. For individuals who report that they have completed prior certifications and trainings before their tenure at the ARC Tampa Bay, proof of these certifications and trainings should be submitted to their employee file. The ARC Tampa Bay will conduct trainings for employees based on their positions and programmatic requirements. All trainings will be maintained as part of their employee records. The ARC Tampa Bay will also provide periodic trainings to meet FDOT requirements and as the need arises. Commercial driver's licenses are currently not a condition of employment as we do not operate any vehicles that require a CDL. In addition to completing training requirements, drivers must also follow general rules and policies to ensure the safety of the passengers and the vehicle. These rules include the following. Smoking is not permitted at any time in any agency fleet vehicle. Consumption of alcoholic beverages while driving an agency fleet vehicle shall be grounds for immediate termination. Drivers are prohibited from smoking, eating, drinking, or using cellular or other mobile devices while operating fleet vehicles. In the event of an emergency, the driver shall move and park the vehicle in a safe location off the road before placing the call. Drivers shall not be permitted to drive a vehicle when his or her driver's license has been suspended, canceled, or revoked. It is the responsibility of the driver to immediately notify the ARC Tampa Bay of receipt of any notice that his or her license to operate a vehicle has been suspended, canceled, or revoked. Notification should be made no later than the end of the next business day. For the most part, as a driver for the agency, most trips will average an hour or less, but there may be certain instances when it is necessary to drive for an extended period of time. FDOT prohibits drivers from driving in the following situations: more than 12 hours in any one 24-hour period, after having been on duty for 16 hours in any one 24-hour period, more than 72 hours in any period of 7 consecutive days. The following mechanisms are put into place at the ARC to ensure that drivers are not working or driving in excess of these hours: trip logs, electronic payroll system, the Florida labor law, and weekly payroll monitoring by program managers. A driver may be permitted to drive for more than regulated hours if the hours are necessitated by adverse conditions resulting from either road conditions, traffic or emergencies resulting from an accident, medical reasons, or disaster. Drivers should also be aware of situations that may impair their ability to drive and discuss with their supervisor any situations that may temporarily or permanently change their ability to safely operate a vehicle, such as prescription or over-the-counter medications, fatigue, illness, or medical conditions. It is the responsibility of the driver to notify their immediate supervisor or designee of any circumstances that would impair their ability to drive or perform other job duties as assigned. The ARC Tampa Bay's policy and procedure on wireless communication devices states the following. The ARC Tampa Bay has a zero-tolerance policy regarding the use of wireless communication devices while operating an agency vehicle. Wireless communication device means an electronic or electrical device capable of remote communication. Examples include, but are not limited to, cell phones, personal digital assistants, laptop computers, tablets, MP3 or music players, Bluetooth devices, iPods, iPads, etc. Use of an electronic or electrical device that enhances the driver's physical ability to perform, such as a hearing aid, is not included in this definition. The use of an agency-issued or personal wireless communication device is prohibited while the fleet vehicle is in motion or during the performance of other passenger and vehicle-related duties. All agency-issued and personal wireless communication devices shall be in silent mode, airplane mode, or turned off while the fleet vehicle is in motion or during the performance of any other passenger or vehicle-related duties. Additionally, any earpieces shall be removed when performing any passenger or vehicle-related duties, to include but not limited to driving, boarding and alighting passengers, operation of wheelchair lifts, wheelchair securement, and passenger securement. In emergency situations, the driver is permitted to use a wireless communication device to contact agency support staff or the agency-approved garage vendor, provided that the driver pulls over, stops, and parks at a safe location to dial, receive calls, converse, or text. Emergency situations are inclusive but not limited to the following examples: dangerous driving situations due to weather or road conditions, consumers actively engaging in dangerous or aggressive behaviors, the vehicle is not performing safely, the vehicle becomes involved in an accident, consumers or staff require emergency medical assistance, and any other situation that affects the safety of the driver, passengers, or the vehicle. The staff member will follow the guidelines as established in the Transportation Operating Procedure Manual and emergency procedures. Now let's review some of your responsibilities as a driver for the ARC Tampa Bay so that you have a better understanding of how you can assist human resources in ensuring that you remain eligible to drive agency vehicles. Make sure that HR always has a current copy of your driver's license on file. Notify your supervisor and HR by the end of the next business day of any violations that result in the suspension, cancellation, or revocation of your driver's license. Comply with the ARC Tampa Bay's drug-free workplace policy. Comply with the wireless communication policy by not using any wireless communication devices while operating a vehicle or during the performance of other passenger or vehicle-related duties. Notify your supervisor of any medications or medical conditions that may impair your ability to drive. Complete all HR trainings and screenings as requested, and complete all other requirements as indicated by HR and/or your supervisor. Let's take a look at what it means to be a drug-free workplace and what we have implemented as an agency to comply with FDOT requirements for a drug-free workplace. FDOT State Management Plan states that recipients or subrecipients that receive only Section 5310 program assistance are not subject to FTA's drug and alcohol testing rules, but must comply with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's rule for all employees who hold commercial driver's licenses. So what does this mean for the ARC Tampa Bay? FDOT requires drug and alcohol testing for any accidents where the driver involved has a commercial driver's license. While we are a recipient of Section 5310 funding for seniors and individuals with disabilities, we do not presently utilize any vehicles requiring CDLs. The ARC Tampa Bay reserves the right to revisit the use of passenger vans transporting 16 or more passengers in the eventuality that such a need is demonstrated in the future. This does not mean that the ARC Tampa Bay is exempted from performing drug and alcohol testing altogether. As you're already aware, drug screening is performed as a condition of employment. All job applicants will be tested, and existing employees will be tested following any worker compensation injuries and where there may be a reasonable suspicion. So what do we do to comply with the FDOT drug-free workplace requirements? The ARC Tampa Bay has implemented policies and procedures to maintain a drug-free workplace. To meet federal requirements, the ARC Tampa Bay has published a policy statement that notifies employees that the unlawful manufacture, distribution, dispensation, possession, or use of controlled substance is prohibited in the workplace, and the actions that will be taken against employees found to be in violation of this policy. We have also established a drug-free awareness program to inform employees about the dangers of drug abuse in the workplace, the ARC Tampa Bay's drug-free workplace policy, area resources available for drug counseling, rehabilitation, and employee assistance programs, and the penalties that may be imposed upon employees for drug abuse violation. These penalties include any staff member may be terminated at the will of the employer. Examples of conduct for which an employee may be terminated include trafficking in, dispensing, and or using controlled substances or illegal drugs or alcohol in any form during work hours or at any time on the ARC Tampa Bay property. All employees must have a criminal history free of offenses that are referenced on the affidavit of good moral character. These offenses include those specified in Chapter 893 of the Florida statutes. All employees are counseled that any violation as listed on the affidavit of good moral character is considered grounds for termination. Employees who are found to be under the influence of illegal drugs or alcohol, or who violate the policy in other ways, are subject to disciplinary action, which may include termination. The ARC Tampa Bay performs drug testing in accordance with Florida statutes and Florida administrative rules. If a job applicant has a positive confirmed test, employment will be denied. If a current employee has a positive confirmed test, the employee will be immediately terminated or otherwise disciplined. If there is a reasonable suspicion that any employee is using or has used drugs in violation of the ARC Tampa Bay's policies, drug testing will be required as outlined in the policy, drug abuse, alcohol, and controlled substances. Employees are expected to adhere to all other conditions as further outlined in the policy. The use of intoxicants or drugs while on duty is strictly forbidden. The use of intoxicants or drugs on company property is also forbidden. Should a staff member report to duty showing evidence of being on drugs or having consumed alcoholic beverages, they will be subject to management review under the drug and alcohol policy. Employees must notify the ARC Tampa Bay of any criminal drug statute conviction for a violation occurring in the workplace no later than 5 days after such conviction. Employees who are arrested during the course of their employment are required to report it to Human Resources on the next business day following the incident. To comply with FDOT, the ARC Tampa Bay must notify the Florida Department of Transportation within 10 days after receiving notice of any criminal drug statute conviction for a violation occurring in the workplace from an employee. Sanctions may be imposed on the employee up to and including termination, or they may be required to participate in a drug abuse program. Our policy is further spelled out in the ARC Tampa Bay Employee Handbook, which is provided during orientation. The ARC Tampa Bay's policy on drug abuse, alcohol, and controlled substances is included in the handbook. Listed below again are instances reinforcing the ARC Tampa Bay's policy on drug abuse, alcohol, and controlled substances, as referenced in the Employee Handbook. This is a lot of information and can be overwhelming. All of the information related to our drug-free workplace policy can be found in the ARC Tampa Bay Employee Handbook. If you don't have a copy or have lost your copy, it can be found on the ADP web portal when you log onto your time card. If you or someone you know is in need of assistance with substance abuse, a list of resources is available to you from HR. Your inquiry will remain confidential. Please remember to check with your insurance plan to see where your insurance is accepted and what the copays may be. So at this point, we have reviewed the transportation operating procedures, regulatory agencies and their requirements, driver qualifications and trainings, your responsibilities as a driver, and the policy on drug-free workplace. We only have to review the Title VI plan as part of this course. The primary focus of the Title VI program is to ensure that as a subrecipient of FDOT funding, we do not discriminate in all programs and activities, whether they are federally funded or not. So what is the ARC Tampa Bay required to do to comply with Title VI? The Title VI notice must be posted in all vehicles. The Title VI notice and grievance procedure is available on our website. The Title VI notice is posted in the lobby of our administrative suite. Surveys are conducted every 3 years to determine transportation needs and language barriers for people receiving transportation services. As a driver for the ARC Tampa Bay, you can help with our Title VI program. Consult with your program manager or director when a passenger has a complaint related to transportation that is affecting their ability to receive transportation services. Some examples include the passenger has mobility needs, such as using a wheelchair or walker, that are unmet with the current vehicle. The passenger has communication needs that may prevent you from understanding their requests. Does the passenger require a communication device or need an interpreter? Inform your passengers of the complaint process if they have a grievance. The Title VI contact information is posted inside the binder for the vehicle. The Title VI contact information and grievance form can also be found on our website, or our Title VI complaint line is 727-799-3330, extension 7704. The email is title6@thearctv.org. The Title VI notice is illustrated here. It can also be found in each vehicle, in our lobby and administration, and it is posted at our website. Some individuals may wish to file a formal grievance. The form is also available on our website. Here's an example of the form. Thank you for your participation. This wraps up our course on transportation operating procedures.